you know, they got oils and stuff, you know, and WD-40 is like a water displacement, you know, to keep the rust out. So sometimes they coat it with WD-40 before they put the oil on, you know. Oil and water don't mix is what they say. So, you know, if you're gonna get hitched, you know, to the truth, you gotta learn a little bit about wingspans, man. You got a hydraulics, you know. See, you gotta hook it up, you know. Hey, you guys ever see the sea foam? You see the foam, okay? Sometimes the foam help clean out the engine, you know, with sea foam, you know. So anyhow, I gotta make sure, you know, you got cabling too. Don't forget about cable, okay? And I wanted to tell you, you know, it's bright sunlight out here, so I'm gonna put my sunglasses on, okay? Now I want to help some of the mechanics out. Things are mechanical, okay? Now, a lot of this science here has to do with the way that an engine runs. A lot of people can't understand that the engine is all around you, okay? So sometime when the mechanic, they work on a plane, they got to be real careful, you know? Because the people that are flying the plane never meet the mechanic sometimes, and they're like, man, this could be some scary stuff, man. Now, what I mean, we don't gamble, you know? Now, some people gamble. You never take a gamble with an aeroplane, you know? A lot of research and development, you know? But if you stop it with the research and development, then the mechanics never learn anything new, you know? And then we end up with big hollow space and saying, hey, where's that new stuff we're supposed to put in here? And when we put the new stuff in, how are we supposed to understand it, you know? You gotta have mechanical stuff in your flight school too. I mean, what if they do an emergency landing somewhere, you know, and they're like, man, what do we do, you know? What do we do, man? We're in the middle of nowhere, radio commission's out, you know, and, you know, the electronics ain't working. I mean, what do we do, man? I mean, there's a point of beyond no return, you know, but what if it's something simple, okay? So, if the pilot understands the mechanics of flight, then he can understand the mechanics of combustion. Because first you have the bullet, okay? See the bullet? I'm gonna step back. We'll take a look at the bullet, okay? This is the bullet right there, okay? Now you notice the bullet got a sharp point, but we round it off a little bit, you know, because nobody wants a sharp stone. So, you know, we round it off a little bit. Create some wind deflection, you know, because if you're just cutting into the wind, you create heat, okay? You know, really pointed, you create heat, you know. You don't want to heat up your nose, man, okay? And then somebody will punch you in the face, okay? Now, check it out. So that's the way they go, oh, man, we could design this, we could design that, right? Well, now we're in the wave of the future, you know? So you should sharpen your nose, you know, and get a better education, you see? And then you'll go, oh, man, I didn't know about that. I go, well, you're not supposed to put an S on in that, you know? You're supposed to put like a ledge, you know? Like the first guy to discover flight, he stand on a ledge with a glider. He jump off and say, man, I hope I fly like the bird, you know? And says, now, you go, no ledge, you see? No ledge, you know? I don't see a ledge there. I jump off, I fly, you know? That's where knowledge come from. Now, you got to have wisdom to sharpen your skills, okay? So you say, well, you know, I got this plane. You know, I got a tailfin because I got to watch out for the sharks. Okay? So watch out for the sharks. Just like in the water, you have sharks. In the air, you have sharks. Okay? So I go, man, what about those land sharks? They're like, man, I'm going to tell you about the land sharks. You know, those are the sharks that really know how to land a plane. Okay? And when you're landing a plane, you got to remember, you got to have good psychology because, you know, you get a little crazy up there, you know. You see Top Gun, you know, Top Gun, you know, the guy coming to land on the aircraft carrier, man, he freak out. And he got his passenger in there, and he's like, man, what we going to do with the passenger? Passenger's like, somebody help me. Man, my pilot's lost his mind. So it's like, man, you got to land. So, you know, Tom Cruise go up there, and he says, man, we got to fix our pilots. Okay. So he said, don't do it, you know. Just like my Master Chief Gary Brown, you know, in the Navy Junior ROTC, he says, man, you don't want to do this. I'm like, man, haven't you watched Top Gun? Watch me. And he says, oh, watch this. He says, okay. So what they did today is I got the engine removed. You know, you ever heard that saying? It says, hey, twice removed, man. Twice removed. You know why? Because you put an engine in there, you don't understand the engine out here, so you twice removed yourself from the equation. So we remove the engine out, okay, we take it out, we start from scratch, from square one, okay, and you look, oh, hold on, oh, wind feels good, okay, yep, wind feels good, hold on, I gotta get it, I gotta get my tuning fork, man, hold on, okay, I got a sunshine there, I got a heat coming down, okay, now I got a heat coming down, the sun's over there, plus when the sun moves, you know, so does the radiating beams, you know, like a gravitational force, you see? So it's just not gravitational force pulling you down with the weight of the water like the ocean. It's also the gravitational force of pulling you up, you know, like a heat waves, you know. Oh man, but if you're too heavy, you know, you go, you know. So, you know, that's the catch-22. So let me tell you how that works. Hold on. You ever look at airplanes in the eyes of a second grader? I have. I'm gonna go, man. Look at this stuff, man. This is so cool, man. And they took all the flaps off, man. You know, because they were riding this on the road, man. They're like, man, I got a wind, man. You know. So they put the wing on a trailer. You drive it down the road, and like, man, I'm testing out side wind. You know, what's it gonna do to my flaps? What's gonna do that? Hey, and if I angle that on the trailer a little bit, you know what I mean? I mean, that's some real science, man. You see what the truckers could be doing stuff too. You know, and then I look at the trucker thing, like I said the other day, you could have put this thing in there, and, you know, we'll get to that. Let me tell you about how the fuel injection works, okay? See, pretend you had a big bucket, much like physics, you know? They say when I was a kid, they says, hey, we got this big bucket, okay? We got these guys over here with this design, okay? And they designed this part of the craft, you know? They like to break things up in smaller pieces, you know? But all the pieces got to fit together. So we got the fuselage, okay? We ain't even got the engine in there yet, you know? Okay, so we got to talk to an engine or something. Hey, you guys see an Indian somewhere? We didn't know more about the birds, okay? Talk to the birds. The birds will help us out, okay? So we say, okay. So we got the fuselage, you know? And we got the bird's tail, you know, but it's not quite like the bird's tail you see in the sky, you know. But it's there because you know, it's different, you know, for a big fuselage plane. They don't have feathers to filter the radiation the way they do and do little miniature compressions and stuff. That's what the engine does inside of a plane if you design it right, you know. And it says, man, that's a pretty good analogy. And it says, yeah, you know, that's why we got analysts, you know. And I say, analysts, you know, so like journalists, they call them JAs. You guys ever heard of a JA? They got a JA in the military, you know. And it says, man, that's what a JA is. And I said, yeah, that's what a JA is. And then in the public, we got a JD. You know what a JD is? And then together, we got a JJ Enterprises, you know. And then that, we get DA, you know. Now, if you add that together, you know, you get another D for diplomacy. Then you get additions, okay? And that's additions to science and technology. And I go, man, yeah, that's the SAC, you know. Science and technology. It's a big SAC, you know. And they say, well, that's a pretty good analogy too. I says, yeah, man, science and technology, okay? Now you go, okay, that's a Saturday SAC, you know. Why? Because science and creativity leads to wisdom, and wisdom coupled with knowledge is, hey, you know, that's knowledge and wisdom. And they go, man, you got an education? Well, if you turn it around backwards, that's a wake, you know, W-A-K-E. And you learn about the wakes of the waves in the sky, okay? Now, you get a combustion engine, okay? And what they did is they took a fuel, you know, but fuel doesn't ignite instantaneously, okay? Now we're talking about fuel ratios and stuff, and that's why they have oils, okay? Now, oil is the lifeblood of an engine, okay? Now, you'll notice there's no engine here today, right? You know why? Maybe the mechanic didn't do the right thing, you know? So the engine was removed. Why? Because in a mid-flight, the engine took a crap and plane, you know. Oh well, I guess the engine wasn't made right, so, you know, we took that engine out and we gotta do it over again, you know. Okay. So you want to know how combustion engine works. You go, well, it depends on the fuel mix ratio, okay? And the way that is through timing, okay? You got 1 timing, 2 timing, 3 timing, okay? Now, if you meet on middle ground, okay, and then, you know, Top Gun stuff, you know, middle ground, international sign language, okay? Then you've got top dead center timing. That means instantaneous combustion. Instantaneous combustion, okay? Now, if you got, you know, a little slow combustion, okay, that means the fuel mix ratio is not right because the engine isn't designed as proper, you know? And the engine's not designed as proper, you have to retard the timing a little back, you know? And I go, man, I can't believe they did that, man. I just tilt my head to the side and kind of look at it like, man, are they a leftist? And they go, well, you know, if you turn your head to the right, and they go, well, I don't know, man, I'm not sure. Okay, let me straighten up. Okay, and they go, man, you know, it dump all the fuel into the carburetor, you know, or the fuel injection. Everybody hears fuel injection. We got fuel injection, man, and you know, that's fuel injection. It says, man, fuel injection is the same thing as carburetor. They both got to have air. They both got to have ignition, okay? And they both got to have fuel. That's the 3 things, man. Okay, if you don't got those 3 things, you don't got flight, you know, your engine ain't doing, you know? But if you're high enough, you can float down, right? Hey, that's like a parachute, right? And I look at this Mars mission stuff, and they're like, hey, we're sending this thing in, we're going to slow it down, and then super parachute, you know? I'm like, hey, we put rocket engines on the parachutes and stuff, man, we'll slow it down like that, you know? I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm like, man, is that the best they could come up with? And it's, well, you know, angles and dangles, you know, it's a joke for the submarines, you know? So they drop it in, parachute, and then drop a rope, angles and dangles, man. Which angle are we going with today, okay? So this is what we got. You learn about combustion engines like this. You know, most of the aircraft mechanics, they look at the thing and they're like this and that, and some of them looking like they've been taught this way or taught that way, and this is what the book says, and this is what this says. You know, I talk to a mechanic, and the mechanic says, that's the way that the Harley school taught me. He's like a Harley mechanic, big time Harley mechanic, you know. He's like, we got this, you know, we got this, it's got to be this, you know. And I'm like, did you test it? He says, no, if that's bad, it's that bad. I said, did you test it? You know, it's just like the astronauts. They got to go through each system and test each part, okay? Well, we'll give you the part, okay? Combustion engine started right there. That's your combustion engine. Heat, okay? Heat, solar rays, you know, nuclear physics, you know, delivery system, and everything, air and the weather system, and everything's moving around, you know, different wavelengths and algorithms, okay? So now you start to understand that, and we go, well, you got a combustion engine. So what happens is you dump the fuel in, and you spark it, and they go, boom, okay, now let's guesstimate how we can get all those little cylinders in the right timing, okay? So they put a computer system in there to monitor the fluctuation of combustion, okay? And then that's how they came up with computerized distributors, because the distributor distributes the spark in the right timing so that the different cylinder heads don't clash and, you know, boom, ruin the entire engine, you know? So that's God's timing, okay? So they say, well, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do that? You know, little plane. You see the plane flying? Or can we do that? Or that? Or that? Or the helicopter that just left here, you know? Which way we gotta go today, you know? And he says, I don't know, man. I got a little guy on a bike. He's riding around like a circuit, you know? Is he a circuit breaker? Well, yeah, because, you know, we gotta reset some stuff, you know? So we're like, okay. You know, we got this little wing here, man. This is a tail wing. Now, this is really cool, you see? Got a tail wing on there. Now, I hook up back here somewhere, you know? Maybe I could figure this out, you know? You gotta hook that up, get everything on. Look, there's a Piper Freedom Flight, you know? See, you know, NASCAR guys, they look at the shape of the NASCARs on the ground because they're doing some research to see if we could get some different curvatures and different, you know, weather patterns and how the race car react, you know? But the problem is they're going around in a circle, okay? So it gives you some data, you know, but not a lot. So then they go, well, I got data like that, so now we do engine data. You know, one of those NASCAR engines went into a helicopter. Okay, so let's talk about combustion. So we're dumping the fuel in, and with that fuel mix ratio, you know, depending on what it is and how much it burns and how much it doesn't burn, depends on how hot the engine runs, you know, hot. Okay, so we go, man, if the engine's really hot, it's gonna blow up, and you're gonna be a plane like this with no engine in it. Okay, now that's basic. And we go, you know, well, what are we gonna do? Well, you used to just, you know, fuel just dump in there, just dump the fuel in there, you know. If you dump the fuel in there, and you know, you're looking for alternative fuel or the proper engines, the proper designs and stuff, you know, to fix a planet and doing all this stuff, you know, trucks can only run so fast over ground. So we need the proper planes and designs to get the stuff out to the desert a little faster so that you have time to expand, okay, to fix those locations and localities. It's tourism, education, and what is it? And what's the economy and fixing the ecological system. If you take away so fast that you can't replace, then you need faster and more reliable to deliver the stuff, you know. And then once you set up the chain of events, you know, like a chain reaction, then you start having ground forces move in to fix the planet, the crops in the area. Okay, now what you do, okay, is I want to be really cool. I'm gonna put my sunglasses back on. Okay, see, anyway, I'm gonna burn my eyes out. Oh, the sandbags, you know, I did a bunch of sandbag deals, man. You know, I mean, at first they had mud because they had a little bit of wisdom and spirit, so that's the water, you know. And they had dry ideas, you know, they weren't that great, so they mix it up, make a little mud, and they mud-slinging at each other, you know. But then they ran out of the good ideas, and then just throwing sandbags at each other, you know. Like, what was it? You can't stop the weather patterns with sandbags. You can stop the flood for a little bit, but not that long, you know. So we say, well, you got a fuel? He says, well, they're dumping the fuel in there. So instead of thinking about redesign, you know, redesign a little bit, you know, a little modification stuff, they just dump a little extra fuel in there and use the fuel as a coolant also. So you got air cool, fuel cool, you know, and you're wasting a lot of fuel, you know. And then they say, well, you can't be dumping fuel into the atmosphere, so what they did is they evaporated, you know, like incinerated, you know. Okay. So they go, wow, that's not a good idea, man. I says, I know. So then you got fuel injection. Now I'll tell you how they came up with fuel injection, okay? I wasn't there, but I'm gonna tell you what happened, okay? A good New York friend of mine told me that his son was in the Navy, and I love the way he said. He says, man, I wasn't there, but I'm gonna tell you what happened, okay? They're looking at the air, and they got all this beautiful weather. It's nice, thick, humid, plenty of cushion to float and fly around on. You got nuclear fusion right there. That's what make of the clouds, you know. It's like white caps in the ocean, you know. And they go, you know, that's a pretty cool analogy. I says, I know, man. I check out. You go to the desert, and you ain't got none of that, you know. It's a hot, you know, sun, less humid. It's really dry, and this want to roll over into it like an ocean, you know, like an ocean. You see? And I go, man, and it create all kind of turbulence, you know. Take a lot of fuel to fly through there, you know. So I said, man, that's like a spraying stuff into an empty space. So the guy go, man, that's a pretty good idea. So then they go, well, they could do that like that in the desert on a bigger picture. If we could figure out how to do it on a smaller scale, and maybe we'll get a proper engines, you know. So they come up with fuel injection, like the rain from the sky, you know. Because it's like, well, you know, if this is thick like water, you know, and that's a white like ocean caps, you know, and we got an ocean there, and they got a little space with stuff getting between, you know, the sunshine can filtrate into the clouds, you know, and they heat up and things move around, and it's just the right combination, you know, you get a little rain raining down, you know, like a renewable fuel, man. That's a pretty good idea. So they go, man, what can we do about that? And they go, well, fuel injection, man. fuel injection. Yeah, so then one chief talked to the other chief talked to the other chief, and they got these guys down here with the wings, man. They're like, hey, man, did you get that other chief? You know, he's got like wings. He talks to the birds. And he says, okay, let's go talk to him and see what he thinks. So he walks over here and he's talking to the man with the wings. And the guy with the wings, man, he's like, man, I got a few extra wings, man. You know, like little wings. You ever seen those little chicken wings, man? You know, no, not really, not in the desert, man, because we need more stuff, you know, so we have chickens in the desert, you know. Okay, you got it? And he says, man, that's pretty cool. And so he goes, he says, well, what can we do about that? We need some stuff out there. We can fly in the desert and bring some stuff like that, you know. He says, oh, we can get them supplies? Okay, hold on. So he goes in and he says, man, can you meet me halfway? Meet me halfway? He says, well, I'm about halfway now. Hold on, let me see. Okay, about halfway. About halfway. Okay. And they go, but it's a fence, you know. That's the common denominator there. We got to have a little defense, you know, because people don't understand. So I said, okay, look here. Okay. And I said, well, you get a different cylinders in your engine, okay, and you compress the fuel a little bit, you know. That's why fuel injection lines, they say, hey, check this pressure before you release the line. It might spray everywhere and make a big mess because they compress it, you know. They compress it and it sprays and spreads, you know. So just like the sun is able to get more heat in the desert, you know, more heat in the desert, more heat in the desert, more heat in the desert, okay. Over here, you know, a little thicker, you know, you can get a little more heat, you know, but it's real humid, you know, it's not dry. So they look at the desert and they go, man, a lot of heat out there because it's real dry, man. A lot of, you know, heat just moving around. It gets so hot, you know. So they say fuel injection, man. You know, if we could turn the world upside down and get fuel injection, you know, we get a fuel injection and then the heat will permeate through all the fuel, man, and make more efficient fuel economy, you know. That's fuel injection. All from a big engine called Earth in the sky in the universe with all the other little ball bearings in the lubricated oil wisdom system, you know. There's like ball bearings rotating around the sun in an engine, man, called a time clock. Okay, that's quantum mechanics. Okay, and they go, man, I didn't know you could explain quantum mechanics like that. I says, yes, you can, if you ask God.